Good morning. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. Happy Deployment Day for those who celebrate. Welcome. How are you doing? My name is Angela. I am a software engineer and a front-end developer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And today we're deploying our new project, which also kicks off what we're doing. Let me get over to the right screen here, which also kicks off what we are doing for the month of April, which is this little project, this little idea that I came up with called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript, where every single day in April, we are going to do a prompt. I'm using ChatGPT to help me with the projects, the prompts, the ideas. And we're going to complete that task. We're going to build the UI and we're going to deploy it to a website called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. And we just spent the last couple of weeks actually building out this site to support the project. So today we are going to do the deployment to DigitalOcean. I started for the month for 2026. I think actually at the end of 2025, I decided that I wanted to do more DevOps content on this channel because I think it's so important for front-end developers to understand how to actually deploy their work. You build for the browser. I want you to see your work in the browser. So, and I also personally find so much joy in managing a VPS, a virtual private server, a cloud server, whatever you want to call it. I personally find a lot of joy in doing that. My favorite stack is just a good old-fashioned LAMP stack, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. That's all three, LAMP, L-A-M-P. It's perfect for static websites, which is exactly what we do on this channel. I started building LAMP stacks back in the beginning of my career because I started with WordPress, and it's very, very common to have a WordPress website on a LAMP stack. You could put WordPress websites on other configurations, but it's pretty common to do a LAMP stack, and they're very easy to set up, especially on a platform like DigitalOcean. So I decided a few months ago that every project that we finish, we are going to end that project with a deployment day. And I think it was such a great addition to this channel. So let me say hello to a few folks in the chat. Nano Kia is here. Welcome, my friend. I'm so happy to have you back after all this time. I'm so glad that you're here. Gogo Elmo, Malik Robinson is our mod in the chat today. We love Malik. He's doing his first web design internship. He's been getting some development tasks. He's been doing accessibility research and writing accessibility standards for his organization. We're so proud of him. AV is here. Hello, welcome. We're happy to have you. Memory clips from Turkey. We love the Turks. I've been to Turkey. I've been overseas twice. I did a backpacking trip. I loosely call it a backpacking trip through the UK. So London, Scotland, and the Shetland Islands. I loved the UK. I was so shocked by how much I loved London. I think it's such a cool city. And of course, I love Scotland. I think a Scots accent is the best accent in the world. And I've also been to Turkey. I've been to Istanbul, and I've been to Antalya, which is a little resort town on the Mediterranean. I think Turkey is a beautiful country. I love the Turks. So I'm excited to have a Turk in the chat and on the channel. It's super fun for me. Clash of Clans is here. Hello, how are you? I'm doing really, really well. Happy to have you. And hello, I'm from India. Say me hello. Yes. Okay, let me pronounce this name. The Chaitanya era? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Welcome. We're happy to have you. Leaderboards are back on top too. Oh, interesting. I thought I turned that off. I don't know if I care as much now as I did 6 months ago when I turned that off. So we'll see how it goes. I have had people, I think I turned it off a few months ago, leaderboards, because I had people spamming the chat trying to rank in the leaderboards, and it just didn't make sense to me why anybody would even care about that. So Well, you're very welcome. You are also welcome. Memory Clips enjoys Indian food. I love Turkish food. I mean, I love Indian food. I love Turkish food. I had such a good time when I was there. I only spent 1 day in Istanbul, but I would really like to go back there and spend more time in Istanbul. It is such an interesting city. It's the my memory of it, and this was back in 2011, 2012. I think it was 2012. I think. Yeah. My memory of Istanbul is that it is incredibly densely packed. I mean, it's so many people, and it is this crazy blend of like like ancient with modern. I don't know how to describe it. Like the architecture, the old buildings, it feels ancient, but it's also like super modern. It's a crazy place. I wish I could have spent more time there. I spent most of my time in Antalya when I was there. So, um, let's see here. Malik says, everyone be good, keep it friendly, off to the meeting. I should be back before the stream ends. Malik has spoken. Okay. So I think we'll be okay. We have a good group. The chat's pretty good at banding together when there's a stinker in the chat, but also I don't have a ton of trouble in my chats. Sometimes I get somebody who annoys me, but for the most part, people are pretty good. So, but although also Malik has spoken, he will be back to assess the situation. So, uh, so here's where we're at. I did make a few. I did work on the site a little bit yesterday. I didn't film it. It was just sort of a busy work type of day. I built out the first 5 pages. I didn't quite finish the 5th page, but I did build out the first 5 pages. When we do the button counter tomorrow, we're also going to add Prism JS because I want to be able to embed code snippets on the site. I like Prism. It's one of the few libraries you're going to see me use here. It's an oldie but goodie. It's been around for a while. Good syntax highlighting. I don't know. I really like it. So we're going to get Prism added tomorrow when we do our first prompt for the button counter. And then as the month goes on, I'm going to continue to build out these pages. I actually don't have every single prompt planned yet. I do know I decided day 11 is going to be social sharing buttons. So like a button to share on. We did this a couple projects ago. So we're going to do sharing buttons for LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and Pinterest. And then I'll also do an email link and I think a print button. We'll do a print dialogue. I do have code mostly written for that based on the project that we already did. So there's that. So that's going to be day 11. And then as the month goes on, I'll plan out the rest of the projects. I kind of like that not everything is planned out and that we just have like the first, 11 or so prompts. So, Chaitanya Era says, I always wonder how one can be so consistent despite having less views. That feels like one of those backhanded passive aggressive compliments. So I'm not really sure how to respond to that. Always knew someone was behind the Claude code. Yeah, I'm not sure what that means either. So, yeah, well, if you have something to say related to the code or an approach that I take, go ahead. I definitely don't need to explain my views. So I'm delighted with the progress of this channel. Speaking of which, if you haven't yet, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you. I'm generally here 4 days a week, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. For the month of April, we'll be here every single day for 30 days, building out the prompts for this project, 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. And on May 1st, we're going to have this amazing website called 30daysofvanillajavascript.com that hopefully will be a great resource for other people. Yourself included, if you are trying to learn how to get better at JavaScript, which is exactly what I'm doing. I think also this might, and I know I'm gonna have to do this a couple of times. I think this is a good time to remind people, if you're planning to tune in April, that this is my practice time. I have invited you to join me while I practice. One moment, please. Give me 1 moment. Hold, please. Okay, what was I saying? Dante is here. Hey, I finally caught alive. Well, welcome. We're happy to have you. I'm glad you're here as well. Settle in. Today's deployment day. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. You may have a lot more JavaScript experience than I do. You may be learning like I am. I consider myself, I'm an experienced developer, but I feel like my JavaScript skills are fairly intermediate. So this is an attempt for me to get better and to learn. You, happy subscriber, may have more experience than me. You may feel called to put the solutions in the chat. You're always welcome to do so, but I may not take them because I'm here to learn, and sometimes learning development and getting better and solving problems looks like a little bit of a struggle session. Also kind of feels like a little bit of a struggle session. If that's going to be frustrating for you, I'm going to warn you now, this may not be the place for you to hang out. If you want to grab a drink and get cozy and just settle in and enjoy the show, that's really what I'm inviting you to do here. So you're going to see me working through problems the way I solve problems. Maybe that will help you learn how to solve problems. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not a group coding project. Just because you put things in the chat doesn't mean I'm going to take your suggestions. Doesn't even mean that I will acknowledge your suggestions. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time so we're all clear on what the expectations are. Okay? Okay. Yes, I am a software engineer and a front-end developer. So, I am. Okay, are we ready? Are we ready? I have everything linked down in the description. Like I said, today is deployment day. So, let me also just briefly walk through some of the changes that I made yesterday. Like I said, I created some extra pages. I'm going to be building out the pages as we go. I got all the links for the social media icons filled in. I cleaned up I did a little CSS refactoring, probably is the best way to put it. I wanted to get a divider in between these sections. I did that. Just refactored a little CSS, tightened a few things up. I wrote some code for my little about section here. Made sure that our themes were working. So we've got a teal, a navy, and a pink. I don't have any of those implemented yet. I'll go ahead and work on those. I want to work on more pages later this afternoon. Yeah, but overall, I am very happy with the layout. I'm happy with how things function. Yeah, I'm good with what we decided to do here. So this is exactly what we're deploying today. This is the GitHub repository for, excuse me, the DevOps documentation that we are going to be following today. I am going to use FTP. I'm on a Mac, so it would be really easy to use rsync. Windows users can't use rsync unless they're using, I can't remember what it's called. If Malik was here, he would tell us because he's used it before. You have to install a command line tool, I think, for Linux, but I can't remember what it's called. Is it what is it called? Windows Linux terminal. What is it called? WSL is what it's called. And Malik says it works really, really well. So you could definitely use that. I personally am down with FTP. It's super simple. These are static projects, so that's what we're going to use today. So we're going to use the FTP information. The first thing that we need to do is log in to Hover so we can update our DNS settings. Let me log into Hover now. I hadn't done that yet. And we're going to update, well, we can't really update our DNS yet, but I'll at least log in. We have to go and create our droplet first in DigitalOcean, but let me at least do this first. One moment. Let me see here. So here is our 30 days of vanilla javascript.com. That's a little big. Here we go. Here's our 30 days of vanilla javascript.com, and we want the DNS settings right here. And, you know, I don't worry too much about showing this stuff to you guys. I've gotten adequately good at concealing things. These aren't my personal, none of this is like client work. None of this is like my own website. These are all things that are exclusively for the stream. So I don't worry too much about what I show you guys as long as I'm not showing you basically client stuff. So don't get too excited. I'm not revealing anything crazy here. So here's our A record and our MX record. Let's at least go ahead in DigitalOcean and get started with our LAMP stack. This is practicelayouts.com. This is where we create subdomains and virtual hosts to deploy our individual projects, but of course we have a dedicated domain name for this. So let's look at the instructions. First, we want to go into, let me see here, am I at the vhost? No, I'm on. We want to use the LAMP one-click install on DigitalOcean, and I do have a link here for the actual DigitalOcean documentation on how to do that, but I'm going to walk you through it here. So first I'm going to go to projects over on the left, and I'm going to click new project. And the project is called 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. The environment type is going to be production. The purpose is, oh, look at all these. We'll just do website or blog. Well, maybe this is class, project, educate. No, we'll just do website or blog. No, I don't need a description. And let's see here. Oh, did it create it? Hang on, what's going on? I feel like there's a little bit of a bug on DigitalOcean. Okay, so we created our project. That was a little weird. Now we're going to go to create, and we're going to create a droplet. I live in the Midwest, so honestly, I could choose New York, San Francisco. I think I could even choose Atlanta. I'm kind of in the middle of all of these things. I tend to just choose whatever's highlighted. We'll go with New York, the New York data center. We want the marketplace, and we want, I'll just type in lamp, whoops. And we're going to do the lamp latest on Ubuntu 24.04. Droplet size, I generally do a basic. I'm going to go with the regular disk type SSD. I'm kind of leaning towards the $6 server because it's a static website. It's going to have like 30 pages. I feel like this is enough. Yeah, I feel like this is plenty for a static website. So I'm going to go with a gig of CPU, 25 gigs of SSD disk space. We're never going to use 25 gigs on a static website. 1,000 gigs of transfer. If something happens and I need to bump it up, like for some reason it gets a ton of traffic, or I don't know, I think this will be fine though. Additional storage, no. Automatically enable the automated backup plan. Honestly, I'm not going to do enable automated backup plan. If this was client work, I would suggest that you do automated backups, but hopefully you have a redundant system in place. And so what do we have? We have our Git repository and we have our local copy. That's redundancy. So I'm not going to choose automated backup. If something happens to this server, I need to destroy the server. I've got 2 solid backups that I can deploy if I need to set up a new server. Again, if this was client work, I would enable this though. SSH keys. I'm actually going to choose the practice layouts SSH key. I should relabel this, but that's what I'm going to choose. So that will be installed on the server as well. And then we'll do the improved metrics monitoring and alerting. Anything that's free, I'll go ahead and do it. And then here's our host name. And I'm just going to call it 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. So that's going to be our host name. And we have the correct project enabled. You can see down here, they've updated the price. It's $6 a month. We will go ahead and create this droplet. So while this is percolating, let me say hello. Dante is ready. I hope that you guys are seriously excited about deployment. I really want front-end developers to have this experience of doing deployment and managing a server. I just think it's so incredibly important, especially where we live in this system where everything is a one-click install. I want you guys to understand your DNS settings, which are admittedly can be incredibly complex, but I just want you to have a basic understanding of some of these things. I personally think you will find a lot of joy in it, especially when you think about all the work that goes into building for the browser. Just not even the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript, the accessibility, the SEO, the open graph meta tags. I mean, just everything that you do to get these sites working and to keep them optimized and accessible. Why wouldn't you want to have this experience of deployment? I want you to feel the joy that I feel. So Common Man is here. I was watching your notification constantly. Great work. Keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, Dante might have beat me to the punch. WSL. Yes, Malik used it. Gogo Elmo used it on his Windows machine, and he said it worked really, really well. The Chaitanya era says, is it morning there? I am from India. It is 9:21 p.m. at night. It is morning here. It's 11 a.m. on Tuesday, March 31st. I think there's about 12-hour time difference. Roha Chan is here. Good morning. So nice to see you as always. Well, good morning. It's nice to see you too. Dante says, okay, this is a good question. Could you please explain what DigitalOcean is? What service do they provide? DigitalOcean is a hosting provider. Okay, I may have made an assumption there. So DigitalOcean, think AWS, think GoDaddy, right? They are a hosting provider. They provide servers. Basically they provide lots of different type of server configurations. I'm going for a basic VPS, which is a virtual private server. could also be referred to as a cloud server. They call it a droplet. So a droplet is basically a basic server, a VPS. So this is hosting. This is the place on the internet where you put your files, you put your website to be available and to connect it to a domain name. And a server needs to have software or a configuration in order to run your files, right? So when we work locally in VS Code, if you're using the live server extension and then you come down here in the corner and you hit go live, you are actually VS Code, it has a basic server that they're using to put your files and to put your site into the browser so you can work locally. GitHub, then, when you deploy your website to GitHub, so you can see the URL up here, it's angelajholden.github.io. So GitHub has github.io set aside specifically for their users to use as a domain, and they provide server space with a server configuration to deploy your sites into the browser. DigitalOcean is a way for you to do that yourself. And as front-end developers, presumably we would all like to think that whatever team we end up on as developers, you'll have dedicated DevOps people, right? And that's not, certainly I've worked places where we had dedicated people doing all the server work. I've also worked places where we wore many hats and we were all responsible for playing a role in the server configuration, the best practices around deployment, and just what that process even is. If you end up as a developer working someplace where the entire team shares that responsibility and you all play a role in the best practices around deployment and the server configuration and how you're dealing with servers, I don't know how you're going to do that if you don't actually have this type of experience. So there's a lot of, DevOps is a huge category of development. There are people who make their entire careers out of specialized, what's the word I'm looking for? Specialized areas within DevOps, right? So I'm not suggesting that what I'm going to show you today even encapsulates a part of it. It's just one little sliver, but it will give you a very good idea and a very good sense of what's entailed. And if you at least understand a basic part of DevOps, like what I'm going to do today, I promise you it will carry you in your career. It will give you the confidence to sit at the table with your team and talk about process and best practices and how do we get from staging to production? When do we QA? What's the configuration? Is it secure? How are we keeping the server locked down? Who do we give credentials to? Who do we authenticate to even let onto the server? Are you allowed to work from home? Do you have to be in the office? Things like that. There are so many considerations, and you're not going to be equipped to deal with any of that if you don't at least have a little bit of experience with DevOps. That's a long answer. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And let me see here. Ray is here. He says, you are so right. I worked as a junior full stack before and I never knew about all of this deployment configurations. It's just basic go to server and change the build file folder. Yeah. And I learned development. I started learning front-end development and just development, web development in general back in 2009, 2010. So I started learning how to do these things before there was really a dev YouTube, before we had the kind of courses and tutorials that we have now. Certainly GitHub existed. There wasn't really GitHub pages. We didn't have one-click deployments. We didn't have Stuff like this just didn't exist. So me as a self-taught developer at home making websites, if I wanted to see that stuff in the browser, I was buying shared hosting, I was buying domain names, and I had to sit at home and figure that stuff out. So it was necessary if I wanted to do this work for me to learn this part of it. And like I said, you don't have to know. DevOps can be incredibly complex, especially when I was in software engineering school. The DevOps course that I took was just basically AWS 101. I really didn't enjoy that. I don't like AWS. It is so complex. I really struggled through that course. I passed, but it was tough. I didn't like it, and I don't ever want to do that work professionally. But I do really enjoy managing a nice little VPS and hopping on the command line and managing Apache virtual host files. I think that's really, really fun. And that equipped me in my professional life to sit and help make decisions about deployment and best practices. So I started learning to code in 2009, 2010, and I've been a front-end developer for 13 years. And Dante says, thank you. I think I understand. It does make sense. The more you do it, the easier it's going to get. So that's the other thing. Don't worry about understanding. You don't need to understand. Just jump in and do it. Just do it. But also it helps to understand. So hopefully you can feel like, yeah, I mean, clearly you wouldn't be watching a front-end development DevOps live stream if you didn't care about the process. So I think this will help you. I think this will help you understand. So, okay. So I'm going to put a little message in the chat here just for people to know that I'm going to kind of focus in and get started following our prompts and following what we need to do to get this deployed. If I don't respond right away to questions or comments, hang tight. I will get to everybody by the end. So now we have move this over here. Now we have our droplet set up. We have an IP address for our droplet. So I'm going to copy this IP address. And the first thing that we're going to do is we need to point our domain. So we need to log into our domain registrar, which we have. We're on Hover. We need to create an A record for the IP address. We're going to create a CNAME record for the www version or the target value. And this, I wrote this tutorial when I was deploying a website called thelemonsstack.com. Obviously, that's not the domain we're working with today. So we'll modify this, and then we're going to add this domain name to DigitalOcean. So I've copied the IP address to my clipboard. I'm actually going to delete these. We don't need them. So those are the default A records and MX records, and we don't need those. So I'm going to create an A record. The host name is 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. That's the host name. Oh, wait a second. I think we actually just put in, my bad, we just put in an @ symbol for the root. And this is the IP address. So the host name is the @ symbol that signifies the root level domain, 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. And then this is the IP address to our server, TTL, time to live, default 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and add this A record. We also need to add a CNAME record for the www version. If you do need to make a decision when you're deploying a website. Is it going to be www, which is basically a subdomain, or is it going to be the root domain? I tend to always deploy to the root domain, which means we will have 2 domains for our website. And we're going to handle that. I'm going to show you how we deal with that once we get into the server and we start editing the Apache configuration files. But just keep in mind that you have to account for both. And if you're doing client work and you rebuild a website, that has been sitting on www for any length of time, you have to redeploy that website to www. You don't want to lose that SEO value. So just some things to keep in mind when you are deploying websites. So in order to account for the www, we're going to do something called a CNAME. And the host name again is the root. It is www. And the target name is, I think this is where we put 30 days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. So the target name, 30 days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. The host name is www, and we have a little check mark here. And the TTL, 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and add that. Okay. So these are the two records that we need to deploy to the root domain. So this will take a few minutes to percolate through the DNS, the googly thing that happens, the DNS cache that happens through the interwebs. So in the meantime, we're going to log in and we're going to set up our Droplet. We are going to log into the Droplet as the root user and just do some basic setup, but we are also going to disable root access and set up something called a Sudo user. So let's go ahead and log in. And we'll do that here. So this is SSH root at, hang on, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Let me grab our IP address again. And shoot, you can't see it, hang on. And here's what it says down at the bottom. It says the authenticity of the host, and here's the IP address, can't be established. And you can just answer yes to this. It's adding it to the known host file that you have locally. And anytime you set up a new Droplet and log in for the first time, DigitalOcean is going to show you a welcome screen. I tend to disable, it's called the message of the day. And it even says down here, I'm going to remove my head again. It says to delete this message of the day, remove. So I'm going to remove this message of the day right down here. So the next time we log in, we're not going to see all of this. I do have something in here related to the message of the day. DigitalOcean has a file with your password for MySQL. Removing the message of the day does not delete the password. So I put here in the instructions the MySQL root password where you can find it. So just an FYI. Okay, so we're logged in, and I'm just going to type in clear. Hang on. Okay, I think I know what's happening. I don't know, this has been happening a lot lately. I'm not really sure why. This is going to disconnect in a second. No, yeah, client broken pipe. I don't know why it's been doing that. So we'll log in again. Okay. Technology. Okay. So we are logged in. We deleted the message of the day, which means that every time you log into your server, you're going to see this welcome screen. The first thing that we want to do is we want to update and upgrade. And you can see here 163 updates can be applied immediately. 108 of these updates are standard security updates. So I have this little script here, apt update and apt upgrade with a yes flag. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is going to take a couple of seconds, so we'll let this run. You are very welcome. I love explaining. Sometimes maybe I over explain, but Here we are. So this is updating because it's a snapshot. You are installing a snapshot of the server and there's always going to be updates. So I've been getting the broken pipe and then getting kicked out in a couple other places, a couple other droplets that I have. So I'm going to have to investigate that. It was happening consistently on one droplet, so I thought it was isolated to that droplet, but now it just happened to a brand new droplet. So I don't know if that's like a bug, something happening at DigitalOcean, or if there's something happening with me. I have no idea. So I'm going to have to check. So Dante says, better more explanation than less, methinks. I agree. Dante, great minds right here. You and me, buddy. This one's taking a minute, but you want to keep your server updated. It's a good idea. Maybe this is a good time to do a little grifting. Do me a favor. While we're waiting for this lamp stack to update, like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not already. Helps the algorithm, helps push this type of content out to more people who might be interested in front-end development and deployment. Starting tomorrow, it will be 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. I'm going to stream every day for 30 days and set up and complete a task, a prompt, a challenge, a JavaScript challenge, build the UI, deploy it to 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. So if that sounds interesting, come hang out. Rumi is here and says, hello, I have a question. My JavaScript fundamentals are clear, but I get confused about where to write code, like when to use variables and when to use functions. Kindly guide me on this. I mean, I think that's a good question, and I too occasionally get a little bit confused about stuff like that. So if you would like a little clarity, well, first of all, the best way to get clear on things like that is more practice, right? Which is exactly what we're going to be doing in April. So come hang out this month and watch me solve these problems, and we'll figure it out together. And Rumi's saying, please provide a proper JavaScript roadmap. I don't have a proper JavaScript roadmap. I can only tell you what my approach is, which is to practice. And that's what we're going to be doing this month. We're just going to work on challenges and prompts, and we're going to practice together and figure it out. So it's not something I can just tell you or write a list and show you how to do. You need to practice. You need to do project-based learning. What your question says to me is that you've probably done courses and tutorials, but you haven't done enough projects. That's where the real learning is, my friends. Projects. So, okay, so we are updated now. Let me just clear. And the next thing that we need to do is reboot. I wrote optional, but honestly, I reboot pretty much every time. So let's go ahead and reboot the server after doing our updates. So it's automatically going to kick us out. We'll give it a minute and then we'll go ahead and log back in. And I don't know, I give it, 30 seconds or so. All right, we are logged back in and we are fully up to date. So I like to check and make sure that everything got installed. So let's just check the versions of each piece of software. So we're going to check Apache first. And yes, Apache's installed. We're going to check MySQL. MySQL is installed. And we're going to check PHP. And yes, PHP is also installed. We're also going to check the Apache status. And we're just checking to see that Apache is running. So here we have the little green dot and we can see here active, running. That's all I care about. I'm just checking to see that Apache is running. So I'm going to queue to quit and I'm just going to clear the terminal. Beautiful. So I have some instructions here about the Nano text editor. Any editing we do in the terminal will be in the Nano text editor. You could also use Vim. I just put in a little blurb here. There's a link to some Nano shortcuts. I don't use a ton of Nano shortcuts, but if you're interested in that type of thing, I put a link here. And these are just some basic to exit the Nano editor and save. We Control X, you hit yes, enter, and then enter again, and that's how you save the Nano text editor. So you're going to see us do that a few times. You're going to see us do that several times. Next, we're going to check the firewall. UFW stands for uncomplicated firewall, I think. Yeah, I think that's what it stands for. This is the expected output. So we're going to check the uncomplicated firewall status, UFW status. And this is the output that matches what I have here. Fantastic. Moving on. Now we want to create our non-root sudo user. This is the username and password that we are going to create to log into the server moving forward, because after we do this, we are going to disable root access. That is the safe way to do things. Once you create a non-root sudo user, you'll be asked a series of questions and we can just move right past those. So I'm just going to create a user called Angela. So I'm going, and we do have to put in a password. Every time you log in as the sudo user and you do a sudo command, you will be asked to type in your password once per session. So you will have a username and a password, so just keep that tucked away someplace. So I'm going to type in a password. And I'm just going to enter past these questions. We don't have to actually answer these. And I'll say yes. Okay, so we have added a user. Now we need to add the user Angela to the sudo group. So we'll do that next. Okay, so we have an SSH key. When we were creating the droplet, it asked us if we wanted to use one of the SSH keys on file. And I think I have instructions here up at the top. Let me see, where do I have them? How to create SSH keys with OpenSSH on Mac or Linux. There are lots of tutorials about how to create SSH keys out there. So I didn't spend a lot of time on that. I think it's beyond the scope of this tutorial. Do a little bit of Googling if you need to create SSH keys if you haven't already, but this is the method that I recommend that you use when you are logging into a server. So let's go back to our instructions. We have an SSH key on file. We need to make a copy of the SSH key for root for our new user. So we're going to make a directory for Angela called SSH. Clear this. And we are going to copy the keys from the root into the new directory. So this is the command right here. It's a copy command. And now we want to change the ownership and the read, write, execute permissions for this new directory. So I'm going to run this first. And yes, I do run my commands one at a time. It might seem a little tedious. It's just how I like to do it. So we changed the owner for the directory. We changed the read, write, execute permissions for the SSH key directory and the read, write, execute permissions for the authorized key file. Now we are going to disable root login with SSH. So here's the nano editor. So basically we're saying nano, open the file that lives at this path. That's what we're doing here. And then once we're in this file, we're going to modify the file. So now we've opened the nano editor and we are editing Apache files on the server. So we're looking for permit root login, and we want that to be no. And we're looking for password authentication, and we also want that to be no. So we're just going to scroll down here. Permit root login. Did I pass it? I feel like I passed it. Right here. So right now, permit root login says yes. I'm going to change this to no. And then we're looking for password authentication. Where are you? Right here. It's right here. So it's commented out. We're going to take that out, enable it, and we're going to change this from yes to no. And then I control X, yes, enter. That is how I save and exit the nano editor. Now we want to reload SSH on the server. So this is systemctl reload SSH. Now we want to reconnect as the new user. So we're going to exit, and we're going to SSH in as Angela at, and we're going to type in the domain name. Here's where we find out if our domain name has propagated. So I'm just going to copy this right here, because if it hasn't propagated, we're not going to be able to use it to log in. Although, I don't think I added it yet in DigitalOcean, did I? We didn't add it yet in DigitalOcean. Okay, no problem. We're going to add it first. And Dante is asking for the instructions. Yes. I think I did link it. It's in the description. I'll link it. I'll give it to you here again, this file specifically. There you go. Okay, so I think I skipped a step here. So let's go back up to the top. Yeah, I did. I skipped step number 4. So add the domain name to DigitalOcean. Honestly, this is the perfect place to stop and do that. So we've already pointed our domain to the IP address of the server, and we've said, hey, hover, add this IP address. This is really where I want this to point to, and this IP address is on DigitalOcean. Now we have to kind of close the loop on that on DigitalOcean. So I'm going to click on, let's see here, back to droplets. DigitalOcean makes it weirdly complicated to access the domains sometimes. So bear with me here. Okay, where are we here? I want to go back to... go back to another project. I'm going to go back to this project. I'm going to click on this domain, and then I'm going to go back to domains. I don't know why that's so weirdly complicated. Basically, oh, it's the networking tab. It's the networking tab. Let's test this. Go back to... Okay, and then networking. Domains. Right here. Okay, I will add that to the instructions. So it's the networking tab. So here's all the domains that I have associated with this account, and you can see here that they are pointed to various different droplets. So we've got 3 droplets total. I've got this practice layouts droplet, I've got this lemon stack droplet, and then we have a new droplet that we're going to add. So I'm going to add a domain, and the domain is, let's see here, grab this. The domain is 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. The project is 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. So we'll add this domain. Okay, so DigitalOcean is automatically adding name servers. And you'll see here, if we go back to overview, you can see here that Hover also has name servers. So ns1.hover.com, ns2.hover.com. We are not going to change the name servers. There's more than one way to point a domain at a server. You can use name servers. You can do the method that we are using, which is DNS settings. I prefer this method. It really depends on your situation. It's sort of beyond this live stream and this tutorial to explain which way is which. The more you set up a server, the more you do this for yourself, the more you practice both methods, you will decide what works for you. So this is not meant to be comprehensive and explain every single server configuration. It's meant to get you excited about deployment and learning. And just, if you have questions, just Google. Trust me, people have been doing this for decades. Every question you have has already been answered. I guarantee it. Just Google. Okay. DigitalOcean also creates name servers. We aren't going to delete these. We aren't going to do anything with these. And this message here says, what's next? You need to update your name servers with your domain register for records below to take effect. No, we don't. We're just going to dismiss that. We're going to create a record, and we're going to create an A record, and we're going to use the @ symbol again. And then DigitalOcean is nice enough to fill in what that value actually means. It's the root domain. And then we select the droplet that this points to. The TTL is 3600, which I think is also 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and create this record. So we're really creating the identical records that we have on Hover. And then we're going to create a CNAME as well. That's for that www value. So www, and again, DigitalOcean is nice enough to tell us what that value actually is. It's an alias of the root. And the TTL, I'm going to change this to 3600, which is also, I'm pretty sure 3600 is 15 minutes. There we go. Okay. So let's see, I don't know if we're going to need more time for this to propagate. We're going to find out. If this is propagated, in my experience, propagation doesn't generally take that long, especially if you live in a busy metro area like I do. I have been in situations in small towns, or I had clients up north with small ISPs where their DNS servers were cached, and they didn't get flushed very often. I've had, this is the only time I've really had situations where a DNS didn't propagate quickly. Maybe it really did take 24 to 48 hours. Most of the time in busy metro areas, you'll see a domain name propagate pretty quickly, especially nowadays. So we'll go ahead and log in now. The instructions say SSH Angela at, and it's going to be 30 days of vanilla javascript.com. SSH Angela at, and again, it's asking about the authenticity of the host for something called your known host file. Go ahead and type in yes. And we are logged in. And I'm just going to clear this. We're getting our welcome screen. And you can see up here now that we are logged in as Angela, and this is the host name that we specified when we actually created the droplet. So we're logged in now as our sudo user. Yay. That means our domain has propagated. So propagation complete. Done. I'm going to close hover. Okay. If you follow this process more than once, or maybe you screwed something up and you have to, I don't know, do a new droplet, it's possible you'll get this warning message about your known host file. Go ahead and follow these instructions. You can just clear the known host file, and then when you get the message, just go ahead and say yes. Okay, so now that we are actually logged in as the sudo user, we're going to add it to the www-data group. This is the default Apache group. So, and we're using sudo for the first time since we logged in, so it's going to ask us for our password for this session. Oh, and I'm about to get kicked out again, because it's not letting me do anything. So, I don't know why that's happening. I wonder if it has something to do with my internet. I wonder, because this didn't start happening until my last issue with my internet being down for 5 days. Should we Google it quick? This is the error message right here. Lamp, stack, broken pipe. Let's see what happens. The error, broken pipe, indicates that your SSH client attempted to write data to a network connection that had already been closed or terminated by the server or an intermediary network device. The broken pipe occurs when the reading end of a communication channel is closed and the writing process is sent a SIG pipe signal. The most common cause is an idle SSH session timing out, but other network or configuration issues can also be responsible. Primary solutions, timeout issues. You can prevent these disconnections by configuring keep alive messages on either the client or server side. On the client side, recommended for individual use. I feel like this is a client side issue since it's happening on other servers. This configuration applies only to your local machine for all SSH connections. Edit or create the SSH client configuration file located at sshconfig. Add the following lines to keep the connection alive by sending a null packet every 60 seconds of inactivity. Okay. Let's keep going and see how it goes. If this keeps happening, I'll do this. I would rather do this offline. It feels like a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down right now. But if it keeps happening, I'll do that. Yeah, so let's keep going and see what happens. Okay, so we're logged back in. This is our first sudo command, which means it's going to ask us for our password. Okay, now we're logged in and we've typed in our password and we've added Angela to the www data group. And we want to exit, log out, and log back in for the group change to take effect. Okay, so we'll exit. Broken pipe again. Broken pipe again. Okay. I'm almost positive it has I feel like it just has something to do with the fact that my internet was out for 5 days, because this wasn't happening before that, I don't think. Let's ask ChatGPT just to confirm. I'm having trouble with my LAMP stacks on DigitalOcean. I'm getting the broken pipe error and disconnected. It's happening a lot. First question, where are you seeing broken pipe? Be precise here because it changes everything. SSH session drops, yes. Okay, so this says the exact same thing, a keep alive setting in the config file. And this is saying on the client side, on the server side, server side, excuse me, to check the config there, then restart. If your droplet is small, like $5 to $10, you can absolutely get broken pipes from CPU spikes, running out of memory, swap thrashing. Hold please, one moment. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Rumi says, I can see how a senior software developer is putting in effort and going through challenges so that beginners don't have to struggle. Thank you. You will always be remembered. Well, you're welcome. Okay, quick reality check. Most likely causes ranked. SSH keep alive not configured. rsync. Your local internet instability. Droplet too small. Okay. It's happening during SSH, not rsync. The droplet is small, but I just created it and don't even have any files on it yet, just doing the config. I also wondered if it had to do with recent ISP stuff. Don't remember this ever happening before. Has happened on other droplets. All of my sites are small static builds. They don't even take up half my resources. So what broken pipe actually means in your case, your SSH client is sending data and gets no response back. The connection is assumed dead and dropped. That usually comes from idle timeout somewhere in the network path, brief network interruption, router ISP weirdness. Given what you said about recent ISP issues, that's the leading suspect. Why you didn't see this before? Two things likely changed. Your network got less stable. Even tiny drops like less than a second can kill SSH. You won't notice it browsing, but SSH will. That's interesting. Idle connections are being killed. Some ISPs or routers aggressively drop idle TCP connections. SSH without keep alive looks idle and gets killed. Fix this first, don't overthink it. On Mac, okay. Okay, so I'm going to do this. Hang on, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to do it. So you're just going to have to trust me. Let's see here. Oh, I don't even have a config file for SSH, so I can do this. Okay, so we're going to create this file in my local environment. Let's just clear. So now we have the nano editor open, and we're just going to add this. And then I control X, yes, enter. And I can confirm on my local machine I have a config file. This alone fixes it for most people. Optional server side, less important. I'm not going to do this now. Let's just see how it goes. Quick test after this, SSH in and just sit there. If it used to drop after a few minutes and now it doesn't, it's solved. If it still happens, then we stop being polite and call it what it is, network instability. While SSH'd in, run a ping for google.com. If you ever see timeouts, spikes, packet loss, that's your answer. One more thing people miss. Oh, if you're on Wi-Fi, wait a second, am I on Wi-Fi or am I on my... That is actually a great point. I'm usually, let me make sure that I'm actually on the network and not on Wi-Fi. I'm going to turn Wi-Fi off and make sure that I'm only on the network. Okay, which I am. Well, I am now. I was on both, but I turned Wi-Fi off. Try wired. Yeah, so we're wired now. Okay. Okay, we'll try these things. I was wired and on Wi-Fi. I turned Wi-Fi off, so now I'm just wired Ethernet. Okay, so let's go ahead and SSH in and see how it goes. Okay, and then good old ChatGPT said to ping google.com and see what happens. Not that I would exactly know. Well, we're not seeing any loss. We're seeing consistent amounts of data, right? So we'll quit that. Clear. And we're just going to let this sit for a minute. Let's go back here and see. SSH in and just sit there. No commands, just idle. If it drops after a few minutes, classic keep alive issue or network timeout. If it drops randomly, network instability. Okay. Let's see how it goes. Well, let's keep working and see what happens. How far did we even get? I think we exited and now we've logged back in and we need to confirm it worked. So let's just... So we should see, yes, that we are added to the group. So we've got Angela, sudo, www-data, and users. Okay, so we're going to find out. We're just going to keep working. That's how we're going to know. Okay. This is, I think, such a great example. Let's actually stop for a second and chat and we'll see what happens. This is a great example of the type of problem solving, even with a complete set of instructions that you are going to run into, especially in DevOps, but any kind of development. Shit is just going to happen and you are going to have to figure out what's wrong and how to fix it. There is no better way to learn. It's frustrating. It sucks. You spend an entire day doing nothing that you thought you were going to get done. And when you do figure it out and when you do solve the problem and you do the thing that you set out to do, you are going to be 100 times smarter for all your trouble. So please, it's okay. Just embrace these moments. They're frustrating. They make no sense. Shit just breaks. It's okay. This is basically the life of a developer. It can be unpleasant, but I promise you, you will be so much smarter for the experience. So just embrace it. This is how we learn. This is how we do it. Okay? Okay. So let's go back to our instructions. Fix the permissions. So we have to change the permissions on the directory now because www.data has a different set of permissions. Also, let's just CD over to where these files are actually going to live. This is the path on Linux, Apache, MySQL on a classic LAMP stack. So we're going to CD. So far, so good. No broken pipes yet. We're going to CD and we're going to / to var www. And then I'm going to list the files. And HTML is where your files will live in the root of a LAMP stack. So I'm going to CD into the HTML. We'll take a look inside here. DigitalOcean automatically puts an index.html into this directory. And we know that our DNS settings have propagated. So we can visit this. Even though our site hasn't been deployed to the server yet, we can visit this and we can look at this file. So let's do that. So we're going to go to 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. It's not secure. It's HTTP. That's okay because we are going to install an SSL certificate on this server. But this server is set up now. The domain is pointed to this server, and we are viewing this index.html file in the browser. So this domain works. This is exactly what we want. So, yay. So now we're going to fix the permissions so we can actually use FileZilla and get our files that sit in our local machine up to the server. We're using sudo for the first time, so we're going to have to type in our password. And then we're going to change so that was the owner. Now we're going to modify the read, write, execute permissions to 775. And then it says here, if you want to make sure all future files keep that group. And I do. So I'm going to type this in. Well, copy and paste it in. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're actually going to deploy our site to FileZilla. So let me pull up FileZilla. Okay, and let me let ChatGPT know that everything's working. I honestly don't know if it was the fact that I had Wi-Fi and wired both turned on my Mac. That could be it. I almost always am just plugged into Ethernet. So I don't know if that was it or not. I don't know if it was the Wi-Fi combo, but I also added the SSH config and it's not dropping. Okay. It's too much information, ChatGPT. Okay. What was I going to do? Oh yeah, we need to get FileZilla. FileZilla. So my apologies, I cannot make this bigger. I cannot zoom in. I have a link down in the description if you would like to download and use FileZilla. FileZilla is FTP File Transfer Protocol. It is secure. We're going to create a connection, an SSH connection, and log in as our sudo user using FileZilla. It's also free. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's really quick and easy, especially for static websites like what I tend to build. So we're going to add a new site, and it's 30 days of vanilla JavaScript, just like that. And the protocol is SFTP. The host is 30 days of vanilla javascript.com. The port is port 22, but we're going to leave this blank. That's automatically going to be filled in. The logon type, the key file. The logon type is the key file. The user is the sudo user, so that's Angela, that's me. And then the key file, let me see here. Hang on, I'll just fill this in somewhat discreetly. So this is the path to the SSH key, and let's see if we can connect. And this is the same question that we get when we log in for the first time about adding this to the known host files. So we can just say yes, check the box. And now we are logged into our server via SSH, via our sudo user. And you can see here on the left, we have our local site, and on the right, we have our remote site. So this is DigitalOcean. And when we log in as our sudo user, we are automatically logged into the folder for the sudo user. So I'm going to click the double dots here to go up one level, and we're going to go up one level again. And we're going to go to that path where the HTML, the root for the site is, where our files will live, which is var, www, and HTML. So here's this index.html. I think I can just delete this. And I did. I just deleted it. And then I'm going to navigate now to our site, which is right here, 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript. Couple words about what it is that you actually deploy to a production website. Please don't treat your production websites like your personal Dropbox. It's not a place where you should just keep folders or keep sensitive files or PDFs or whatever you have going on. Only deploy what you actually need. You don't need to deploy anything related to Git. Don't deploy your, like this right here, this DS store is something that Mac always creates. We're not going to deploy our QA, right? I have the mock-up PNG. I'm not going to deploy that. I'll deploy this 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript screenshot because I put that in there specifically for the Open Graph meta tags. Not going to deploy this assets file. Yeah, we don't need that. I'm not going to deploy this Git file. We only deploy what we absolutely need in order to run the site. That's what we deploy. That is my advice to you. So we're going to deploy each of these folders because these are all links. We're going to deploy the images. We don't need to deploy SVG because I actually take those SVGs and embed them on the page. So this is just a folder that holds those files. They're not being referenced. We need to deploy the UI components because that's an actual page. I'm going to deploy this screenshot. This is our 404 page. This is our home page for the root site. And then of course we have our normalize.css, script.js, and style.css. So these are all of the things that I'm going to deploy. And I'm just going to drag these right over and let these percolate up to the server. That's our GitHub. Let's check it out here. 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. This site, okay, so it's defaulting to HTTPS. I need to delete that S because that does not exist yet. There we go. Give it a little refresh. So this site is not secure because we have not installed the SSH key the SSL certificate, right? The thing that encrypts the traffic. But technically this has been deployed. This website has been deployed to 30daysofvanillajavascript.com. And we should be able to visit each of our pages. She's a little slow. I don't know if that's just because we don't have the SSL certificate installed. There we go. You can see now. Yeah, so we also need to make sure that we have a configuration for our 404. Because on our GitHub, I know I mentioned this before. Here's our GitHub pages. GitHub automatically has a server configuration for 404 pages. So if I go to a page here that doesn't exist, the server says, hey browser, go grab that 404.html page, which is what we built last week, right? We have not configured our server yet to do that. I only recently learned, because I thought error 404 was always a browser configuration. It's not, it's a server configuration. So we will, as part of this process, we will have to tell the browser to go look for 404.html, but that's what would happen here if you clicked on one of these. So we're going to go ahead and do that. But everything else is working. Look at that. We're not done yet. We still got a ways to go. We're not done yet. But this is working exactly the way it should. So, okay, so now we have a way to deploy our files, and we've gotten our files deployed. So I'm actually going to go ahead and close this. I don't have anything else to deploy today. We just shot it all up to the server. So I'm going to close this and close FileZilla. And that worked perfectly. So yay. Okay, so what's next? Oh, and I do have some notes here about what not to deploy. Don't deploy any file or directory that isn't required for site functionality. You should always exclude the following files. So the git ignore, any file with markdown like a README, DS store, design files or directories. Don't treat your production server like a Dropbox. That's just not a good use of your server. So, and then this says, just in case you need to reset the ownership permissions after rsync. So if you are doing rsync, or if you just want to reset the ownership and permissions, because we set everything to read, write, execute as 775. Let's take a look here so you can see exactly what this means. So now we're looking at this list of files. Let me clear this and we'll look again. You can see here that the owner says Angela, the group is dub-dub-data, right? If we wanted to reset this and reset our read, write, execute, we would go ahead and do these lines here. I included these because there's nothing wrong with how this is right here. Angela is not a default Apache owner, but we added it to the dub group. When I started my career as a WordPress developer, if the owner and the group wasn't dub-dub-data, you couldn't update themes, plugins, or WordPress core. So I have a tendency to reset everything. What that means then is that you will have to run these commands every time you deploy, because you're not going to be able to deploy as your sudo user without read, write, execute being 775. So if you reset these things, just know that you will have to do this every time you deploy. I'm not going to do it now, but I'll be honest with you. Generally, when I deploy, I almost always reset, knowing that I'm going to have to rerun the read, write, execute and the owner group commands. Well, not the owner group so much, just the read, write, execute. And I only do that out of habit, and I only include this here out of habit. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew why that was there. I'm not going to do it now. It's completely fine. Okay, now we need to actually install the SSL certificate. And here's where we're actually going to spend quite a bit of time. This always seems to take a lot of time. This website, once we install an SSL certificate, which is what makes the domain name HTTPS, we will have 4 domains for this website. We're going to have 30 days, HTTP, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript.com. So we're going to have 30 days of vanilla JavaScript.com, and then we're going to have HTTP www.30days of vanilla JavaScript.com, and then we're going to have HTTPS 30 days of vanilla JavaScript.com, and then we're going to have HTTPS www 30 days of vanilla JavaScript.com. Why is this important? Users, especially users who have been using the internet since the 90s and the early 2000s like I have, I don't do this, but I know people who do this. Many people will go to the address bar and they will type in www. the domain. If you don't have a server configuration set up to redirect from www to the root domain, if you are deploying on a root domain, the site's not going to be found in the browser. I'm just letting you know that now. That's how that works. If you are deploying on www and somebody goes to the browser and they don't type in www and you don't have a redirect from the root to the www, they're not going to be able to find the site. The site's not going to come up. So please, please, please make sure that you're doing both. And if you're wondering, why does that even matter? Do websites even do that? Well, let's check. How about Amazon? www.amazon.com. Who else? Instagram. www.instagram.com. A lot of people use www. Lots of social media. LinkedIn. www.linkedin.com. So there are lots of websites out there using www. So let's say that we wanted to go to linkedin.com. HTTPS will be really explicit about the domain we're typing in. LinkedIn.com. We should see this automatically redirect to www. Yep. And that's because LinkedIn has a server configuration that does the redirect. So that's really important. So GitHub does not have a www. What if we came over here and put in, we were really explicit, and we typed in www.github.com? No, they have a redirect that goes back to the root domain. So you have to do that. You have to account for that. It's really important. And like I said earlier, if you're a freelancer or say you redesign a website for a client and you are doing a new server setup and a new configuration for your client and deploying that site, make sure that you know what the old configuration was. So if they've been www for 10 years and they've got all this SEO value under www, you need to redeploy that site as www, and you need to make sure that there's a redirect from the root to the www and vice versa. So that's really important for anybody who has that site bookmarked in their browser. It's important for anybody, any kind of SEO value. Just make sure that you're paying attention to that. Just be mindful. So, okay. Let's encrypt. So how do we even get the HTTPS? Let's Encrypt. It's open source. Back in the day, this was a giant cash cow for a lot of shared hosting domain providers. In particular, they would charge hundreds of dollars for SSL certificates. You don't have to pay for it anymore. It's free. And we are going to use certbot. So let's check and make sure that certbot is even installed on the server. Should be, but we'll just double check. Yep, certbot's installed. If not, you can install it here. So we want to request and install the certificate. I'm going to copy this over to VS Code and we'll replace that domain name. So it's not the lemon stack. It's, copy this to the clipboard. We'll do this again. So we are requesting a certificate for 30 days of vanilla javascript.com and www.30daysofvanillajavascript.com. We're going to do both. I wonder if I have this out of order. Let me think for a second here. Okay, I might be doing this out of order, but I think this is fine. We'll see what happens. So we're going to request our certificate. I have to type in my password as a Sudo user. It's going to ask you for your email address. I highly recommend that you type in your email address because these certificates are issued for 90 days at a time. They will auto renew, but if there's a problem with the auto renewal or any kind of issue in general, you'll get an email and you're going to want that email address. So I type in my email address. Please read the terms of service. We'll say yes. Would you be willing? Sure. So it's installing the certificate. Okay. We were unable to find a virtual host with a server name or address. Which virtual host would you like to use? So we're going to use number 1, and we're going to edit the virtual host file. Honestly, we should probably edit the virtual host file first. I think I'm going to update my instructions to reflect that, but we're totally fine. So I'm going to do number 1. Choose number 1, which is 000-default.conf configuration. That is the default Apache configuration file, and we're going to learn more about that in the next step. So I'm going to hit enter. Oh, maybe it wanted us to do number 2. Select the appropriate number. Okay, the selected virtual host would conflict with other HTTPS virtual hosts within Apache. Please select another virtual host or add server names to your config. Could not install the certificate. Okay, that's actually fine. We are gonna go. This is my fault. So my apologies. I should change how we do this. So we need to edit the Apache virtual host file first. So we're gonna do that, and then it's saved to the certificates. We'll reinstall it after we do the configuration file. So the server is Apache. Let's cd over to that directory. So we're going to go to cd/etc/apache2, and if we list our files, we want the sites available. So we'll cd into sites available, and then if we list this, so certbot created this file right here and this file right here, but we're going to edit this. So we're going to sudo nano, and we're going to add some information here. So we need to add the server name, which is 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com. We need to add a server alias, which is the www, and then we're going to create a redirect for this, which is the HTTP, and a redirect for the HTTP www, and we're going to redirect everything back to HTTPS, the root domain right here. So server name 30 days. I hate typing this in. Copy it because it's so long and I feel like I'm going to misspell something. 30 Days of Vanilla JavaScript.com, and then the server alias www.30daysofvanillajavascript.com, and then we're going to do redirect 301 root https.com, and it turns blue. It says to comment out these four rewrite lines at the bottom. There aren't any because our well, I don't even think we've done the rewrite yet. So there aren't any yet, so we don't have to worry about it. This is really all that we have to do is add these three things. And this is the virtual host port 80, the HTTP version. So I'm going to Control X, yes, enter. It's writing. And we're going to do this right here. Make sure the rewrite module is enabled and reload Apache. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to edit my instructions. Enabling the module rewrite to activate the new configuration. We want to do sudo systemctl reload Apache 2. All right. So now we're going to go back and reinstall certbot. So we're going to rerun this line right here. And it's going to tell us that it's saved the original certificate. It's probably going to ask us something like, do you want to try to reinstall, or do you just want to continue installing the thing that we saved? So let's see what it asks us. Okay. Certificate not yet due for renewal. You have an existing certificate that has exactly the same domains or certificate you requested and isn't close to expiring. What would you like to do? Attempt to reinstall this existing certificate. That's what I'm going to do. 1. Okay. And now we're successfully deployed because it could find our configuration. Before, it couldn't find our configuration. That is my fault because I did it in the wrong order, so I will update my instructions, but we're good. Can you tell I've made this mistake before? So, and it says here, successfully deployed certificate for 30 days of vanillajavascript.com to this right here, created this configuration file. So now we can go to, we haven't done the, I don't know if we'll see what happens here. I think we have to do the other, we have to edit the port 443 virtual host first for this to work. So I'm just going to clear. So we're going to ls alt. We are going to edit this file right here. Oh, I saved you. Okay. Here's port 443. That's right. This is right. We have our directory. Oh, I think we need to add this rewrite rule right here. So we have our server admin, document root is correct, the server name is correct, the alias is correct. Oh, we don't want the redirect. That's probably why this isn't working, because it copied that file which has a redirect. We don't need it in this file, so we'll take that out. And then I'm going to add this redirect because we want to make sure that www is rewritten, not redirected, but rewritten. So I'm going to add this up here. We're pointing to our file, our keychains. Everything else looks right. So Control X, yes, and we'll save. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I feel like my mic might not be up very high. So, okay. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to rewrite and enable these files, and then we'll reload Apache. Module already enabled. And then let's just reload Apache for good measure. Okay. Now we're going to test the redirects. So we're going to test these in the terminal first. We'll update these. So we should see, I'll put this one. So for these three, HTTP, HTTP, www, and then HTTPS, www, we should see a status 301 redirect. For the last one, HTTPS, and then the root domain, we should see a status 200 success message, because this is the domain that we want our website to live on. Even though all of these other domains exist, they need to be redirected to this root. So let's start with this first one. We should see a status 301. It's clear. Let's get back to, there we go. 301 moved permanently. Exactly what we want. We should see the same thing for this. Same. 301 moved permanently. And it says the location of where it moved. Oh, this is interesting. It says www. Okay. That's not the right place. Let's see here. Did I just never notice that before? This also moved. This should not be the location for that, but does it matter? This should be, does it go from here to here to here? Did I just never notice that before? And this is status 200. Let's test this original URL here, because I want to see if it's the same, if I didn't screw something up. Okay, moved permanently to the root. Here's the www. Let's see where that went. Yeah, I think I did something wrong here. That's okay. We're gonna fix it. Welcome to my world. Here's the status 200. That's perfect. What about this? See, these all go to the root. So what did I do? What did I do wrong? Which one even? Which one was it? Was it this one? Yeah. Why is this going? So this is the HTTP www is going to the HTTPS www. We're so close. We're so close. Let's double check our Apache files. Oh, is it because, let's check our port 80 file, because we hadn't done the rewrite for the port 80 file yet. I bet these rewrite conditions are sitting in the port 80 file. How much you want to bet? And we need to, this could be it. So let's try it. This is my best guess. If not, we will ask the master, ChatGPT. Yeah. So let's comment out. And then we will restart Apache. Wait a second, what did I just do? I accidentally disabled syntax highlighting. I don't even know how I did that. So let's see here. Okay, that was just temporary. So X, yes. Okay, let's do I want to rewrite or just reload? I'm going to try reload and then we'll check that link. Okay. So let's run this curl again. See what happens. There, we fixed it. So now http is 301 redirecting to the HTTPS. Right here, people, right up here. Problem solver. You don't have to know everything to be a developer. You really don't. You just have to be willing to try and figure stuff out. Okay, what? Oh, look at our browser refreshed automatically. Look. HTTPS 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So let's go ahead and test this. Let's go ahead and test. I can't really make it bigger. I can't make the address bar bigger. Whoops, stop. There we go. Oh. There we go. I can't make the address bar bigger. But you guys, we deployed our website. We did it. Okay, so HTTPS 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. So let's put in, let me just take out the S, and we should see that automatically redirect back to HTTPS. There it does. Okay, so now let's put in a www. www.30daysofvanillajavascript.com. Redirects. Let's take out the S and put in www. There we go. This is working perfectly. Okay, the last thing that we need to do is we need to put in our, I think it goes in the Apache file, the error handling for 404.html. Okay. Final question. I'm pretty sure that I know where this goes, but I'm just going to confirm. I have a 404.html in the root of my site. Which Apache file do I tell to handle that, and how? And I will make sure I update my instructions with this too. So I think all we do is this error document 404/404. Yeah, I know, ChatGPT. God, stop. Actually, the Apache 443, right? Yes, it is. Okay, stop. Just, it's a yes or no question. Okay, after you update. So we're just going to add this line right here back in that 404, or this 443 for the HTTPS. And then we can test our 404 page. Okay, so where's the path for this? This is the 443 Apache file. And copy this again. And so just to be clear, before I add this, we can go to 404.html. We can go to that page, although we forgot to update our base URL, right? So pretend that this is working. It technically is. We just forgot to update the base URL, so we'll do that next. But we can't, nothing else is going to work. So if we go to like one of these links that doesn't exist, it's just going to say not found, because it's looking in the port 443 configuration file, and there's no instructions in the Apache file to say what to do with that, how to deal with error handling. So if we put this in, We'll do it right here. Error document 404. So if there's a server error, then look for 404.html in the root. So we'll save this and enter. And then I think it just said to restart Apache. So we'll just reload Apache 2. Okay, and so now, refresh the browser. If I go to a page that I know we're going to get a 404, now we're going to that 404 error page. But we need to make sure that we update our base URL. So how do we do that? Well, if you were here for when we set up the 404 page, anytime you have a 404 page, you have to specify a base URL for your relative links. On GitHub pages, you have to include the directory of your GitHub repository because you never deploy to the root URL. The root URL on GitHub is github.io. But the root URL for your repository, your project, is github.io, whatever the name of your repo is. So when you deploy to production where you were previously on GitHub pages, we have to take this out and we have to specify the base URL as being the root domain, which it is for us, which means that your 404 pages aren't going to work on GitHub anymore. That's okay. It doesn't matter unless you're specifically testing them or you need to do something with them. Don't worry about it. Just make sure it's working for production. This is incredibly common. I've worked on many full stack apps or whatever, where every time you deployed to staging and then to production, you had to make a change to this base URL somewhere in the app. Not even specifically for a 404 page, but just for the routes, right? Like I remember having to do that in Angular on a couple of apps that I worked on, and I always thought it was a pain in the ass. And over the years, I've always looked for ways to set like a base URL or to check whatever the URL is of where I'm currently working, whether it's local, staging, production, and it gets very messy very quickly. So as big of a pain in the ass as it is, the best and easiest way to deal with this is to just remember to set your base URL for the 404 page wherever you happen to be deploying, and make sure that testing your 404 links is just part of your QA process. That is just my best advice for dealing with this. So let's go ahead and open up FileZilla again because we need to redeploy 404.html. So now we have that site set up. So 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. I'm going to go ahead and connect. And again, to get to that, we'll go up 2 levels. We're going to go to var, www, HTML. And really, all I have to do is update this one page, 404.html. So I'm just going to drag this over. We redeploy that. Yes, go ahead and overwrite it. Now we're on 30 days of vanilla javascript.com. If I refresh, now our 404s are working. So we can visit. The root URL is day 1. Here we've got day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. Day 6 and beyond have not been set up yet. So as soon as I click these links, we should see the 404 page. Son of a gun. Okay, so it's still not working. Hang on, did I not follow the instructions carefully? Okay. So we put it in 443. Error document 404. Did I actually save this? I think I did. Error document 404. I mean, does it need to be does it need to be in both? I don't know. And if you don't want longer results, then personalize it in the settings. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what this refers to. Which settings? Let's go ahead and restart Apache. Yeah, see, I know it's port 443 because it even says here that it's looking for that. So let's do this. I wonder if I just have it in the wrong place. Is it like JavaScript where you have to do things in a certain order? It's not working. Is it in the right place? I did reload Apache. Yeah, it is. Okay, well, let's double check. 404.html, it's in the root. No, I don't have an htaccess file. We could use an htaccess file, but I don't have one. Check that Apache sees the config cleanly. Sudo Apache CTL config test, you want syntax okay. Then reload again. I have previously done this in htaccess. So I'm doing this for the first time in my Apache file. So we are getting syntax okay. Let's see what ChatGPT thinks of this. This is how I use ChatGPT, guys. It's not to write code, it's to do stuff like this. Okay, so this is fair. We can run this. Yep, so it's a 404 not found. Let's take a picture of this. I mean, does this just need to be like, do we just need to like refresh this or something? Let's open this in incognito. How does that sound? It should be going to the 404 page. It should be going to this page. It should be redirecting. Okay, let's see here what it says. Okay. ChatGPT loves to call me incompetent. Oh, hang on. Now it's working. Did it just need a second to percolate? That's working. That's working. Not working. Okay, so here's what might be happening. These links literally don't exist, and these are directories that are empty. So that could be what's happening. So let's just delete from the server days 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, those directories, which are empty anyways. And I'm sure that that's what's happening. So if I go into day 6, there's nothing in here. There's a JavaScript file, and I'm not deleting anything. Like locally, everything exists. So, okay, I learned something new today about how 404s work. So I'm going to delete these folders from the server, and I'm not going to upload them until I actually have an index.html in each of those directories. So I have an index.html in day 5, in day 4, in day 3, and in day 2, and of course in the root. So it's finding the directory, just not the file. So that was my fault. Okay, well that actually makes perfect sense now. So now let's test again. Hang on, let me tell it that I figured it out. I'm just going to say it's working. So we'll go 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Now we can go, there we go. Now our 404 page is working. So you can see here that it is going to day-8, but literally it doesn't exist. But of course our UI components page works. We can get back to the root, the home page. Everything's working. So now, because these pages won't exist until the end of the month, right? Like we're only going to do one page a day. We're going to deploy every day. If somebody comes along and clicks on something that doesn't exist yet, they're going to get a nice little 404 page. I should put a message in here just for the month of April saying we're completing what we're doing every single day. Although I have kind of a message here. So we did it. We did it, guys. We did it together. You and me. Together. Hold, please. All right. Let me see here. Some of these messages are a bit old, so sorry about that. TP Snip King says hello. Hi, welcome. Rumi says, I have a question. After deployment, my website often becomes slow. This has happened many times. Why does this happen and how can I fix it? My short answer is I have no idea. I don't know what kind of website is, and I don't know what your server configuration is, so I wouldn't know. I think that you need to do a bit of Googling. I think you could ask ChatGPT. You could tell ChatGPT what kind of website it is, what the platform is, what your server configuration is, and I would start troubleshooting that way. But I don't know anything about your website, so I wouldn't be able to help you, unfortunately. I apologize. What I'm hoping is that just by watching me work today, this is really, I feel like sometimes my streams can be chaotic, especially when things start to kind of go wrong. I hope that the takeaway is how I solve problems, not what the problem is or how we even end up fixing the problem. It's just the method for solving problems. That's really what I think good teachers do, is they teach you how to solve problems. So that's what I'm hoping that I'm able to do. When the certificate expires, which of these steps would you have to do again? That's a great question. It's automatic. It automatically renews every 90 days. I think, do I have something in here about that I skipped over? Yeah. Okay. Auto renewal check. So I do have something in here related to auto renewal. I kind of skipped over it. CertBot installs a renewal timer automatically. It checks twice per day, about every 12 hours. If it's within 30 days of renewal, it renews automatically. And you can go through these steps to verify it yourself. So I did include some instructions here. But honestly, I've been using CertBot and Let's Encrypt for over a decade. I've never had a problem with auto renewal. This is a very smooth process, but there are steps here so you can check your certificates and the expiration and confirm for yourself that the timer's working, and it auto renews every 90 days. And Midwest Moto Bear says, oh, Midwest, does that mean you're in the... It must mean you're in the Midwest. Welcome, Midwestern friend. I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hello, all. I swear my work computer hates loading the chat box. I always have to watch it on my phone instead. Well, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you can watch and that you are looking for solutions and sticking it out. I appreciate that. Emilio is here. Emilio is also a mod in the chat, also a Midwesterner in Nebraska. Hello, hope we are all having a great day. Almost time for the challenge. Yes, we just got our site deployed. Super excited. Dante says, whoop, whoop. We always get it done here. Listen, we always get it done. Oh, and Emilio says there is also a code review option in the links in the video if that is something you're interested in. Check out the link below. Yes, I do help with code reviews and consulting. So if anybody's interested in that, I have that link down in the description. You can sign up and schedule a time. I use Calendly. Yeah, and I'm always happy to help with code reviews if you have any questions. Dante, auto renewal. Yeah. Auto renew is good. I would not want to have to be responsible for auto renewing every 90 days. So, well, we had a great little crowd today and we're finishing up right on time. So now here's what's great about this. So we have this site deployed. We have FileZilla set up so we can easily at the end of every day when we finish a challenge, we finish a task, we're going to deploy that right up to the server using FTP. We don't even have to log into the server on the terminal anymore. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and log out because we are done now for today. We don't need this anymore. Every day when we finish our task, we're just going to open FTP and we're literally just going to deploy that day, and then we'll go right to the browser and check and make sure that everything got deployed. I think it's important to point out that FTP or rsync, whatever your method is, it is completely independent from your GitHub. Do not stop using version control. Do not stop pushing to your GitHub. That is one of your multiple redundant backups. I think it would be in my best interest to start learning how to write GitHub actions, which I've technically done before, but it's been a really long time and it tends to be a little bit complicated. We should definitely work on that for 2026, where we connect our GitHub to DigitalOcean. We write a GitHub action so we can trigger a deployment from our repository to DigitalOcean. I mean, I should definitely make that a goal to do that sometime this year, and I will. For now, there's nothing wrong with this method. There's nothing wrong with FileZilla. FileZilla was like the OG way that I ever deployed anything ever. I used this for years until I started getting comfortable with the terminal. And I'll do some rsync again here eventually. But every project we do this process. Now, I don't set up a new LAMP stack for every single project. What I have been doing, excuse me, is we also create subdomains. So for this project, just as an example, 30 days of vanilla javascript.com, we could also set up subdomains. And that's actually what I do on the practice layouts site. Let's go to practice layouts. So here's practicelayouts.com. This is literally what lives in the root of this site. And these are the sites that we have deployed. These are all subdomains. So we've got Italia. These are all things that we've done on stream and deployed. We've got the coffee website. We've got the scenic website right here. We've got the solo masonry website. I've got more. I've got a whole list of sites that I'm going to add to this list and get deployed. But this is how you can deploy multiple websites on one domain name, one droplet, by adding virtual hosts. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I do have those things linked in the, let's see here. Where is it? Right here. I do have virtual host right here, vhost. I need to edit this. There's something, it mostly works. I need to edit this. So I'm going to try to get this edited this week. Yeah. And you know what? Google's your friend. ChatGPT is also your friend. Right? If you have questions, you can always email me. I'm also on Instagram. If you have questions, if you want to follow me over on Instagram, my handle is Angela J. Holden. You're welcome to send me a DM there as well. Yeah, so there's that. We did it. Okay. I think we're good for today. What else do I need to do? I have a couple little things I'm going to do to the site tonight. I'll walk through those things tomorrow before we get started. And Emilio says, Copilot and me are basically married now. Fair, totally fair. I use Copilot every once in a while. Honestly, I tend to just stick with ChatGPT. I don't know. It works for me. Thank you, Emilio. I appreciate that. Come back tomorrow, day 1, 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. We're going to work on our button counter. I'm already nervous, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get through it together. So everybody, have a great rest of your day. Oh, I have one more time. I'm just going to remind people to like and subscribe if they haven't already. It helps the algorithm and all of that. And let's see here. This is going to be our final message for today. I hope you continue to be available for a long time until my JavaScript logic and problem-solving skills improve. Sorry if I sounded a bit selfish. Good night. See you tomorrow. Thank you. You're not selfish at all. And I am going to be available for a long time. You can ask me anything you want in the chat. You know, I answer the questions that I actually can answer. Unfortunately can't answer your question about your server because I don't know anything about your setup or your configuration. So it would not be possible for me to answer a question without really any context, right? But I'm always available offline. And like Emilio says, who kindly posted the link in the chat, I do offer consulting. So if you're interested in that, I'd be willing to help if I can. Midwest Moto Bear, great live. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Hopefully, I will see you tomorrow and for the next 30 days. Bye-bye.